Hey, Houston, this is criminal defense attorney Cory Roth coming to you live from one of my offices in Houston, Texas. Just wanted to briefly discuss a recent DWI case that I won a dismissal for on the eve of trial. This particular client I had actually previously represented, got a not guilty on a different case of his in Brazoria County. But in this case, he's charged in Harris County with driving while intoxicated. And they're alleging that he was intoxicated on a cocktail mix of different drugs, including marijuana, morphine, fentanyl, basically heroin. Client's involved in a car crash, accident, does all the things you would normally expect a person to do. And that's what you want your attorney to do. You want your attorney to be evaluating whether if you're accused of driving while intoxicated, whether you're acting like a normal person would under those circumstances. My client happened to be having an anxiety attack. He told the police, the tow truck driver, the other driver that he was having an anxiety attack. He told the paramedics that he was having an anxiety attack. But the officers felt like something was going on with him. They took him over to another safer location to conduct standardized sobriety tests, where my client was surrounded by 5 different officers, including a DWI officer working overtime, right? So he has a bias. Your attorney needs to be looking. Does any witness have a bias, a motive, a reason to make up this accusation, a reason to show up and testify? There was another officer who had to complete the arrest. He was a trainee officer, PPO, probationary officer, and he has a motive. He has a bias, right? There's an extra reason to arrest him. Interestingly, the officer who, the DWI officer who actually administered the test, gave incorrect directions, sometimes overly directed my client at other times, who looked so good on the body camera video. Actually, body camera video from all 5 angles. He even said at times, I don't know if this, we're going to make the case. It's a pretty weak case. So paramedics show up, client's heartbeat is high, and one paramedic tells the officer, yeah, it's high, but this is very normal in a, after a car accident. We can't make him go to the hospital. Meanwhile, the other officer who thinks the other paramedic who thinks he's an officer is saying, oh no, you have to go to the hospital. You have to go to the hospital. Either way, drug case, right? No allegations, no suspicion of alcohol, since there wasn't an odor of alcohol. So, what the police have to do is rule out every other alternative, right? And they didn't do everything that they could to rule out the possibility that it was just an anxiety attack, or they didn't try to determine what category of drug there was. They didn't call out a drug recognition officer or drug recognition expert, as the prosecutors and the police like to say. So they didn't do all the proper tests. They were not going to be able to get the blood results into evidence because they weren't relevant, reliable, or admissible under the Kelly factors, under the rules of evidence, under a bunch of different case law, right? The police officers themselves weren't going to be allowed to express their opinion that my client was intoxicated, or definitely what he was intoxicated on, because none of them were qualified. So I had to go through and let the prosecutor know every part of the video that needed to be muted, because police officers were expressing improper and inadmissible opinions. And then the blood, there were problems with the chain of custody of the blood. There was a note that the blood tube was not actually fastened. It wasn't secured shut when it was transported from a local lab here in Houston to a lab in Pennsylvania. And then the prosecutors weren't able to subpoena the lab analyst from the out-of-state lab. So how are they going to get that into evidence? Well, they tried to subpoena the head toxicologist from the laboratory in Houston, but that wasn't going to work. The case was dismissed on the eve of trial. My client was very grateful. I'm very happy. Point of sharing this story, although I would have loved to try this case, is that you need a lawyer who's going to be patient, who's going to look through all of the evidence, watch every minute of every body camera video, thoroughly review the laboratory report, figure out where you can block evidence from being admitted into trial, and then really write the motions and eliminate the rules that the other parties are going to have to play by. by preventing the other party from discussing or asking questions about specific topics until a judge determines that they're relevant, reliable, and admissible. That's it for today. This is kind of off the top of my head. If you need a DWI attorney or any criminal defense attorney, please give me a call, 832-819-5290. You can also text me again, 832-819-5290. Bye.